1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Am I sounding okay? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Do I sound good? Sounds good, is it? That is grand. Okay, if it is good, then I shall remove the picture. Bam. Wait, did I remove the... Yes, I did remove the right thing. Okay. Let me just adjust where I'm sitting. Hello, everyone. Hello. All right. It is a Sunday evening here, and I am uploading a reaction video from my Patreon series onto my second channel. Thus, the connection on this stream might drop a couple frames while it's still doing that. It only has a couple minutes left, though, and then we're sailing. And I will post it in the chat as soon as it is here. I've spent most of the day cutting my hair, and then reacting, and then getting blocked, then redoing a sequence, editing it, exporting it, and re-uploading it, and now we're here right now. This is what's happened. So let's see, sound is good. Yep, Flugmore. Fluggy's been a mod since the beginning. He's like the MLG mod. I just gave it to him like instantly. I was like, oh yeah, well Fluggy's here. Okay. How we doing? How we doing? Everyone can hear me? Hello, 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 Lana. Jonas, how's it going? New haircut. Yes, I cut it today. It took way too long because I have no idea what I'm doing. I have learnt many lessons about cutting hair without shaving it all off today, as well as yesterday where I learnt many lessons about trying to make a pompadour. This has been a learning experience hair-wise. This has been a weekend of learning about hair products and hairstyles. I have done as much as I can with the hair right now, but it probably still needs a bit of cleaning up. But you know, on the camera, you probably can't tell. You probably can't tell. So sea slug Sundays. Yes, that is exactly what it is. Great haircut. Oh, thank you, thank you. Everyone's enjoying the haircut. Nice. Would I do a video on URC? What is URC? I don't know what URC is, so you're gonna have to explain it to me. Pompadour, no. I mean, it was for a video. It's not exactly like I planned to do a pompadour on the regular. Um... yeah, well, I live in lockdown, JDeco, so it's not exactly like anyone can, it's not exactly like we're gonna go out and get a haircut, and I think getting a haircut is a little bit, So, you know, I'm learning my lessons, you know? I'm trying to make cutting my hair the easiest thing I can do, so, you know, I just shave it all off the front, off the sides, and I guess now try and trim the top. That's all I'm doing. Shave it all off. I would probably go for something a bit less heavy, but basically we don't have we've lost a couple clippers, or like I'd go for like a 1 or a 2 on the sides, but we just don't have those clips. So I'd have to, for necessity right now, we don't have the I don't have the particular stuff to actually do much more than shaving the sides like that. So that's how it'd be until it's not. First on stream like this from you, probably used to hearing comments like this, but I really appreciate your videos. Nice to hear you more of the unknown productions. Suki, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I don't really get tired of those kind of comments. I'm glad you like what I'm doing. That's all I can say. Underground Record Club, Japan's first independent record label, started in 1968 to accommodate new artists that came. Unfortunately, because of the horrors of how the algorithm works, realistically, I shouldn't be doing that many more videos on Japanese music, because unless it's heavy hitters, they don't do well, and YouTube does track that stuff. And if my subscribers don't click on the videos I make, it will affect the performance of my future videos. So, like, obscure Japanese music titles, unfortunately, they just haven't done well recently. So, it's probably something that you should ask Pad Channington about. And if he was doing it, I might do a collab with him if he wants to do a topic like that. I think his channel is more suited for it, and he's more likely to get success out of a video like that than I would. So ask him, and if he wants to do it, I would happily be on the video with him. That would be the compromise I have. But I don't know. It sounds kind of interesting, but I don't know anything about it. Is there anything you talk about, or is it just a Q&A? I mean, I'm just here to sort of chill for a bit, and I'll show a couple things I'm doing. I usually just chat casually. It's just chatting, so I could talk about most things. It depends how I'm feeling. Usually I'm reacting to the chat if there's something there that interests me. I might go through a couple things I'm doing or planning and working on. And we'll go from there, I guess. I don't need these anymore, so I'm going to take those off. Oh. Don't worry, Fluggy, it's fine. The pretzel, it's fine. I'll sort it later if I have to. I'm not sure how that even happened, but it'll be alright. I'll fix the headphones later. They're like cord ones, so they don't really get tangled. Yeah, going to the barber right now is not a good look. That's why. So yeah, I guess I look like Peaky. I don't know. I've never seen Peaky Blinders, but I think they have kind of a similar cut. From what I've seen, and it looks pretty good on them. So I'll say that much. And where are we? Actually, here's a good one. I was thinking about this today. Is that Brian? Brian? I'm not sure how you say that. Brian, like Brian, but with a Y. You're asking about month series, right? About different studios. Usually I do. The last couple of years, we've done one a year. I've done one. The first, well, 3 years ago now. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we did Toei Month, which was the first time I did that. Then there was Madhouse Month Part One, which was, I guess, that was like a year plus ago now, year and a bit ago, and then a month or so ago, we did Madhouse Part Two. I think they're fine. They're fun little challenges to do. Madhouse Part Two didn't really thrive very well, to be honest. Though I kind of understand why, because they were like really obscure, and there wasn't actually that many videos. Seems to me that like I kind of decreased the amount I did each time because I was trying different things out. I think if I can get to a sweet spot of about 20 videos, I think that's probably there. I don't know if I can get to 30. Depends on the topic. And I do kind of want to trim. I don't know. I don't think I've got 30 videos in a month in me, to be honest. I don't think I could do it. Not the way I do it now, at least. But I've been thinking about this, and I'm curious. I am curious. I am thinking about an idea of like next December, or I guess the December coming up in God knows how many months that is. It's too far away for me to really matter too much about it. But I was thinking about doing a Studio 4C month because I was looking through their catalog and I was like, I actually think there's enough here to do it because of a couple other like strange experimental videos I could do. Like, say for example, a video on all of their shorts. Like they've done a lot of short and movies. They've done a lot of music videos. So like the shorts of 4C, the music videos of 4C, the video game like projects they've done. They've done a lot of like cutscenes for video game companies. I think each of those could be a video alongside their movies and maybe some other like weird anthologies. I think all those together could make a month of. I think that could make a reasonable amount of videos. I think I could try and turn that into like 20 videos. I could give it a go. Door. There is actually a jug here somewhere. Well, I don't have the big one right now. My stream keeps worrying. Wait, I'm just curious for everyone. Is the stream okay? Am I dropping a lot of frames? Because I'm getting some warning signs on my side, which is probably because I'm uploading something at the same time. So I'm curious if I look okay. No, it's all good. Okay, it's just probably freaking out, which is fine. It might have just stopped now. I might have finished uploading the thing now, so it might not be an issue. I was lagging a bit, but it feels like drop. Yeah, it's just dropped frames because I'm uploading something at the same. Oh, it just finished uploading, so it shouldn't be an issue anymore. Which, speaking of which, right? Yeah, I wanted to get this uploaded at the same time, so all right, it should stop dropping frames now. We should be on smooth sailing. This is what I wanted to upload. Pin comment. This is a part of my a newer series I've been doing on my second channel, which I've barely used before. But this is just a it's like a Patreon series. Basically, it's just sort of like a reaction video. It's kind of more me just hanging out with my patrons. $5 and up send me random videos, react to them, talk a bit about them. Kind of just more like casual content to just get out there. You know, just a bit of fun on the side. Basically, it's what I've been editing today. Earlier today, after I cut my hair, I did the reactions, I edited them, I uploaded them, and then Netflix blocked them completely. So I had to talk to one of my patrons and like get another video. They'd recommended me like a Netflix comedy bit, and Netflix just decided to block it worldwide as it instantly uploaded. So that was fun, and I couldn't be bothered to deal with them. So instead, yeah, I just chopped that sequence out, re-recorded about an hour ago maybe. I recorded a new sequence on a different video for them and uploaded it, and now it is up. So if you want to check it out, it is there. Though of course you can hang out in the stream first, and it's not going anywhere. Hopefully, I don't think it's been blocked, but I guess I'll find out soon enough. Alright, so yeah, we should now have no more drop frames now. No more drop frames. I'm losing... Where was I beforehand? Let's see, well, sorry, I've completely lost where we were. Oh yeah, if anyone... Yeah, I'm getting a couple questions about hair. Yeah, I just chopped my hair off right now. You know, quarantine cuts. Got to shave all my hair off. You know, I was getting way too much on the head. I was saving it up to do something a bit more elaborate with it for what would you call it? Yeah, I was basically not cutting my hair for ages on top because I wanted to try and get like a pompadour thing going, kind of, for a red line video, which should come out next month. That's what I've been working on the last couple of weeks. It's been nothing but stress and chaos. I've been working on that one. Writing it was a horror show. I fucking hated writing it, to be honest. Absolute mess. It became a very long, expanded thing. I finished writing it. I finished recording the narration. I recorded the live action segments. I think it was... Did I record them yesterday? Yesterday or the day before. I'm assuming it might have been yesterday. I chopped them down. So, like, I've got a good base to work from, but there's still a lot of work to do with the video. I still have to do a lot of, like, checking for clips and figuring out how I'm going to do certain sequences, animation, and drawing. But the red line video is coming together. But now I don't have to have my hair anymore. Yeah, I just cut off a lot of it today because it was getting too long. That's about it. And I wasn't going to cut the sides, but like it didn't look right after I did the top. It just didn't blend well because I don't have enough clipper, what do you call them? Like things you put on the clippers to make it blend well. We don't have the right ones. So yeah, I just cut it all back again. It'll grow back pretty quickly, so I'm not really too bothered. Ghibli month would be a hell on strikes. Yeah, Ghibli month would be like basically just the end of this channel if I tried it. I think it could actually be funny to do, but like it would just be like hell on earth. I don't think I'd get... The problem with doing such a week is like every time I upload a video, it could just get removed the same day, and then it's like 2 weeks. So like I could upload... Well, I probably only get to 3. I could upload 3 videos, and then the next day each of them could get taken down, and then like my channel's in like limbo for 2 weeks. So like it would be a pointless endeavor to do, like to try and upload like 15, 20 videos about Ghibli films in the same month. They're all going to get taken down. Like it, or at least like at the limit it'd be like 10% of them get taken down, and I don't think I'll be able to upload half of them. So yeah, I don't think a Ghibli month would ever be like a good move in such a block way. Le Planet Sauvage? What, Fantastic Planet? Yeah, I've seen Fantastic Planet a couple times. In fact, we may be doing a video on Fantastic Planet after I finish a video on Nausicaa, which will also probably get taken down, but I'm willing to fight that one because it's a big one. But, you know, you've... Yeah, I'll have to do the song and dance for probably 2 weeks unless I get very lucky. So yeah, unless Ghibli's not striking, we probably got a 2 week fight. Maybe it will stay up for like a week if I get that much luck, and then 2 weeks of a fight. And when I'm fighting, I guess I'll upload a Fantastic Planet video. It's kind of relevant. Like, there's obviously an influence between the two, but it depends on, I guess, the situation with that Nausicaa video first. All right, where are we all at? So yeah, the lagging should be done now. How's it going, Annie Fred? Yeah, there should be no more drop frames, everyone. I've uploaded the thing that I was doing, which is now in the pinned comment here, which is the React series. If you want to go check it out, it's in the pinned on the chat. So there's that. There's that thing. But yeah, that was the only reason I was dropping frames, is because I was trying to finish uploading that. It didn't have much time left, so that is who's Matt? Who's Matt Berenger? Berenger? Matt Berenger. American songwriter. Not familiar. I'm not familiar with him. But, yeah, I guess I'm him with a mohawk now. How did you do the back of your head, by the way? I had some help on the back of the head, although, as I was learning earlier today, there is a way of doing the back of your head which isn't too bad, but you do need two mirrors. So what I was told is effectively you need to get like a hand mirror, and then you want like hopefully like a bigger mirror that you have somewhere in the house, and then what you do is you put up your hand mirror, what was it? You put up your small mirror like that, and then you point it at the big mirror, and then you can shave the back by looking like that. So then you just keep going like that with the trimmers, and then you can keep an eye on it. But like if you're using like a blend, or if you've got the right clips, it probably won't be too bad just to roughly feel it out. Just keep doing that motion, depending on how small your clippers are, and just keep blending. Keep doing it. And then, yeah, if you've got the mirror like that, you probably should be able to do it. Like, it seems pretty self-explanatory there. I mean, if you can get help, that's always good. I mean, it depends. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty productive. If you can find yourself a hand mirror, that is. Or if you've got the two mirror combo to get it right. You should maybe link the second channel also in the channel tab? Channels tab. I mean, it is. I'm not sure what you mean by the channels tab. I mean, it's in the pinned comment here, but it is in the channel. Like, if you're talking about when you go on my channel, the second channel is up there. Gab, thank you for the compliment of the hair. I mean, it's going to probably polarize some people. I don't really give a shit about my hair. You know, if it was up to me, I'd have probably shaved it all off again. But I kind of prefer. Shaving it all off is fine and good. It just takes a really long time to come back, and it comes back a bit weird. In my experience last time, my hair had some weird growing pain periods when it was coming back in like strange ways, and it was a very long period for it to all come back regularly. I didn't even gain my fringe back until like 6 months later. Actually, it was probably longer than 6 months. But yeah, it was interesting. So yeah, this time I've tried to cut less of it off. Yeah, it is a two-mirror system. Any thoughts on Norse mythology or mythology? Mythology is cool. I don't. The only thing I recall of Norse mythology is is it Thor who had to drink? Was it Thor who had to drink all that water in the ocean? But it was like in a pail, and he had to keep drinking that. And I forget. There was like one myth I remember hearing about when I was younger. Like there was some challenges of Thor, and he had to drink a lot of water, and there was like a serpent. Sounds pretty wild. I mean, I think mythology is pretty cool in general. I don't really have any strong feelings about it either way. There's a lot of mythology out there, and a lot of it's really weird. You know what's pretty weird? Irish mythology. That stuff is batshit. We actually have a book in the house of it. I tried to read it when I was 10, couldn't do it, couldn't pass it. It's something else. Like, it's I should probably try again. I don't know if I'm strong enough though. Yeah, there you go. There you go, Jen. You understand it. We've witnessed Steve's metamorphosis from Italian disco Mongol to Tilda Swindon. Yeah, now I'm Tilda Swindon until my hair grows back. Then I guess I'm Italian disco again. Maybe we'll see. How many of your vids are taken down? What, by Ghibli in the past? In the past, it's been at least 5 of them. At least 5 Ghibli videos were taken down in the past by them. At least 5. Maybe more? It's hard for me to remember. I had like 3 initial Ghibli videos, which was like the Miyazaki retrospective one, the Goro, and the Takahata one. And back in the day, what Ghibli used to do is they used to just block videos worldwide, and it was really annoying. It took forever to deal with. You'd have to go through like a 2-month period of just fighting them continuously. But now they've went to a much blunter experience where, like, if Ghibli finds a video that you've done on one of their movies, they will just take it down instantly. They'll just strike it. Doesn't even need to be, like, live. They will take down unlisted videos, too. If they find it, it's gone. There's no, like, middle ground for them. So, like, while it's easier to technically fight that if you know what you're doing, because it only takes, like, 2 weeks, it's still really frustrating and annoying, especially if it happens multiple at once. In my experiences, they're not as, like, ban-happy from what I've seen. Like, usually if they're going for you, they'll go all at once. So if they want to take down a bunch of videos, they'll take them all down at the same time. They won't do like a really shitty, like, one day, then the next day, then the next day. I haven't seen them do that yet, but you never know. I've always worried about that like they'll just go, okay, oh, we found a bunch of them, let's just take one down a day until we can get rid of the fucking channel. Though I guess I could still fight it, but it would just take 2 weeks, and I would be in limbo in those 2 weeks when I have to fight each of those claims at the same time. But yeah, like, you know, Ghibli's message tends to be like, yeah, if they find the video, you're out. So you better know how to fight back. But they're not going to take you to court. They don't have a leg in the race on fair use. They just do it because that's their policy. And they don't do it themselves. They hire someone else to do it, from what I can see. That's how it goes with Ghibli. Come along radio. How's it going, dude? You doing alright? Loved catching up on your Ghibli content. Castle Cagliostro is one of my favourite movies. How do you feel about the most recent movie? The most recent Lupin movie hasn't came out in England yet, as far as I can see. There's been no way to get it. I did say at one point that if that, like, Castle of Cagliostro video did really well, I was interested in maybe doing another Lupin video. It's done okay. It's done about as well as I expected. It's been a bit annoying, though, and this is probably the reason I won't personally... I'm kind of against doing another one. TMS are also a nightmare to deal with in a different way. So if Ghibli is, like, really annoying because of, you know, the possibility of destroying your channel, and also just, like, losing a video and having, like, that hits your algorithm, right? That hits the channel's health. Like, you just lose all the views it gets. So, like, that's how Ghibli's annoying. And they're, like, probably quite dangerous in that factor. Especially if, like, YouTube isn't working correctly and they just reject your appeal. That is a nightmare material, and it has happened to me in the past. Because of COVID stuff, they don't have as much staff, so sometimes things fall through the cracks. It's really awkward to fight. So there's that one. And then on the other side, there's TMS. Now, TMS is just more annoying because they are a slow annoyance. And this has happened in my past. When I did a video on Princess and a Pilot, that video was actually performing pretty okay. And what happened is I went to bed, and when I woke up, the video, like, basically an hour after I went to bed, it had been blocked worldwide. And I had to, like, appeal it, and it took them, like, what then happens is when they block a video worldwide, you have to wait 48 hours before you can possibly get it back, which is a stupid fucking rule. Like, if I appeal it, just give it 24 hours is the max I could expect. Why do I have to wait 48 hours before it's unblocked? It's just such a farce. And then what will happen is, like, maybe a week later or a couple of days later, TMS will block it again because they can go, no, we don't think your claim is correct. So then you have to appeal it again and wait another 48 hours at least. And then when that's done, you have to wait 30 days before you can make any monetization off that video or anything off that. And knowing how YouTube is, if a video isn't making monetization, it's not priority, which means that YouTube doesn't really give a shit about it. So not only are you losing at least like 4 days of just dead days of it being blocked, which is already destroying its momentum, probably destroying its first week, which is most important, it's also not going to make any money, and it's just wasting your time over the long run. So like, while making a video about the new CGI Lupin film could be quite interesting if I could get my hands on a physical release and look at the behind the scenes, I'm likely to have to fight TMS the same way again, because it's a new film, it's probably in their algorithm, they're probably paying someone to just block it, and it will just be another farce. I was lucky enough with the Cagliostro video, is that it got blocked while it was in my, when I was waiting for Shaves to finish his video. So like, by the time I could release it, I'd already went through the double block period, but it is still not making any money. I think their claim on it runs out in 3 days. So in the last 3 weeks or so it's been out, it's just been dead in the water completely in terms of monetization, which probably has limited its like, its ability to be put around. So I'm not sure if I really want to cover another loop. I mean, some of their stuff they don't really like protect, some of they do, so it's like it would be a real gamble depending on if the CGI film is like one that they like to keep an eye on or not. I don't know, but I haven't seen it yet, but I have mixed feelings about doing more Lupin videos, though that one would have been an interesting one to talk about for a myriad of reasons, including like the history of the CGI team that made it, who are actually more of a video game cutscene people who worked with Sega a lot in the past, and you know who owns TMS? It's Sega. So like there's an interesting correlation between all these people. But yeah, I have no feelings about it yet. It looks pretty cool. I'll try and watch it one day. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it, Rocket. Where do you put the videos you made that get taken down? What are you on about? They get put back up. Like, none of my videos have been, like, taken down forever as far... Well, there's one video that got, like, blocked forever because of, like, I didn't understand how the system worked, which is, like, the first version of my Takahata video, but, like, the second version's up, which is basically more or less the same thing, but I added a bit more to it. So, like, there's no videos that have been lost to time on my channel. Besides the Death Grips AMV, which was blocked worldwide by the record label of Death Grips, and I'm never getting it back because AMVs are not fair use. Oh, the singer of the National, is that who that person was? Alright. Even finding some Studio Ghibli museum videos itself should be an achievement and respectable. Ghibli's copyright policy challenges even that of Disney. Yeah, they're annoying. I'm personally glad they kept the U and Explosion banned for the OVST. U and Explosion. Oh, that's cool. I mean, yeah, Lupin has like a bunch of great like music, especially with the main composer and all that stuff. Yeah, they've done really great work. So I'm glad to see. Well, I should put this back on. My wrist is starting to hurt. I look like an anime villain? I am an anime villain. You better back off. Where are my shades from? I'm not really sure where they're from. I've just bought them online. I was looking for a very specific style of shades for a particular project, I think it was. I can't remember why. I just liked the look of them. I was looking for something very particular. And this is what I ended up with. So, like, it shouldn't be hard to find a pair like these. I don't think these are, like, practical ones. I think these were supposed to be for night driving or something. But I like the shape, so I thought I'd get them. How's it going, Monte Cristo? I razor shaved my head since I was 18. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that. It certainly saves a lot of money. Just, if you want to just go bold, if you want to go, like, the whole way. I found it a little bit difficult when my hair grew back because my hair is very like thick and robust. So like removing it all, it gets really funny when it comes back in. There was a period where I after shaving my hair just came back in like anime. Like I literally had like a fucking anime protagonist hair. It just went everywhere and like it would just fly all over the place. That was an interesting period for my hair. Eventually it started to chill out again, but yeah, It was someone else. I had Super Saiyan hair for quite a couple months. Cool Peaky Blinders. Is that what people call it? The Peaky Blinders cut? I mean, I guess so. Yeah, that's okay. So it is the 4 myth. You look like a Marvel villain who only appears in a sequel. Yeah, I prefer anime villain over Marvel film thing, but many mythologies have individual drinking oceans. Norse myth is Lorcar, and the snake you mentioned is Jamungur. I'm not going to be able to pronounce these names. Yeah, so it is Norse, is it? Okay. What's the turning point when Madhouse was losing its staying power and directors start leaving? What was the turning point when Madhouse? All right, Spence. Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because we talk about that a little bit in the video coming up at Redline. If you really want to see what like the turning point in like the career of Madhouse, there isn't necessarily. It's very complicated because I would argue that like Madhouse as a studio now is like a hollow husk. Although it sounds like from what I've heard behind the scenes, there's like 2 productions that might come out this year for Madhouse that might put them back, may give them back on the trail. It depends how well these adaptations go for them. But because they're from 2 very particular directors from the studio who have quite a good track record, it's entirely possible that they could like bring a little more rep to them. I think they're like the last 2 they have left. But like realistically, the change in Madhouse was in 2011. That doesn't mean it was the end of Madhouse, because there's a lot of productions Madhouse has done since 2011 that people quite like, especially up to like the 2014 and 15 period. After that, there seems to be a bit more of a downturn of people's like favoriness to them. Effectively, after One Punch Man came out, the studio seems like their reputation kind of, and One Punch Man was kind of like a it was like a favor mill, if I understand right. The director of One Punch Man had a lot of favors, a lot of people he knew. He knew a lot of people at Bones, so there was a lot of freelancers and people he's picking up from everywhere. A real like lightning in the bottle situation, which they couldn't repeat, which is why they didn't do season 2. So there was that, what was happening. But the director of One Punch Man, though he had said himself at the time, if I recall, that like Madhouse was not a company that operated like it was in the black, which, to be fair, most anime studios aren't in the black. He still ended up working with them for like another 2 or so times. But he's definitely like a pretty talented guy. I know he did the Boogie Pop anime adaptation that came out a couple years ago. Don't know if that was any good, but I imagine it must be alright if he's working on it. I think I trust his sensibilities as a director and who he can get together. He's supposed to be working on something this year too. And then the other director who has a new project coming out at Madhouse this year is the director of Hunter x Hunter, or 2011's Hunter x Hunter, who has a pretty reasonable track record himself. And I've heard like the schedule on Hunter x Hunter 2011 was pretty solid, like as a schedule for 155 episodes. So that man obviously he's well together. He understands what he's doing. I think that's fair. So I think both these people could make Madhouse look a little bit better. But the definite change is 2011. What happens in 2011? Well, Koike left the studio at the end of 2010. Murayama leaves the studio in like the March to summer period. And since Moriyama was the person who got together most of like the weird and unusual projects at Madhouse, he was the person who knew like how to get the money and get the people together. A lot of those weirder projects are Moriyama specifically. So when he left for Mappa, Madhouse kind of lost that element of their career. Usually everything else after that was a bit more straight edged. And Nippon TV also bought most of the shares in Madhouse in 2011, and then they basically bought the whole company, I think, in 2014 or so. So maybe Nippon has a factor in there. But basically, yeah, and then a lot of the talent pool from Madhouse, they would have spread off into different places. Some of them might have followed Moriyama to Mappa or M2. Some of them might have went to different studios to produce stuff. You know who else was a Madhouse original? Yuasa. Yuasa used to work at Madhouse. Hosoda used to work at Madhouse. But then these two went off to create their own studios or work at different places. And then some people might have went off here and there. Who else was an official? Bernardo. I mean, I guess Rintaro like retires. Kawajiri isn't really working as a director anymore. Like a lot of these people that were like Madhouse staples, yeah, they kind of just went everywhere. So it is what it is. I would like to see Madhouse make some sort of recovery, but you know, it's kind of unlikely. Uh, oh, so there are some videos on Irish folklore out there, eh? That's interesting. I hope people enjoy them. How's it going, Emily? I guess. Latest Lupin the First. Yeah, the CGI one. I think is the newest one. You can't watch Ashton no Joe, you can't watch Kojin no Hoshi, and you can't even watch Lupin the Third. There are some of those things which are on their YouTube channel. There was a period where like all of Ashton no Joe 2 was on YouTube and you could just watch it on their channel. You just had to go on their Japanese one. I think now that's not the case, which is unfortunate. There are some episodes of Lupin though on the English TMS channel as well, but they are like really fickle. They are very fickle with some of their entries and very not with others. Like when I made my Sherlock Hound video, I didn't get a single like issue at all. So I guess they just don't give a shit about Sherlock Hound. And I think other Lupin entries, like they don't fucking care. I think they're just really specific ones that seem to like trigger it. Probably like Lupin Part 4 and 5 and Cagliostro. Maybe the new one does as well, but I used a couple clips from it, but it didn't come up. But they definitely went for the Cagliostro clips. And when you're gonna make a video that's like 20 minutes long and it involves a fair bit of their footage, it's you know it might be quite difficult to get that through because even if I'm using see the thing with TMS that makes them annoying is they don't actually have a bot that will like auto detect something at like 12 seconds or 13 seconds or 15 seconds. I usually try and keep my clips down to like 10 or 11. I try and buffer where the point of like no return is, but TMS just doesn't have that. So even if I were using clips at 10 to 9 seconds, if they find it, they're still taking it down. They don't seem to really care like how long the clip is. In fact, in some of my re-edits of the Cagliostro video, they would just lie and say a clip is longer than it was. Like there was the clip they actually blocked my video for was two clips that were like separate but had like a sequence in between them that like I stitched together, and they just said, yeah, that's the clip, that's 12 seconds, you know, blocked. Just blur out enough so they can't make claims and use stills. God, saying that's such an awful idea. What a terrible video that would be. If your whole video is nothing but blurred frames and stills, how the hell are you going to talk about animation? I don't know, like, this isn't an article. I don't want to talk about animation with stills. I want to be able to show the animation. I think that's really the only way to effectively convey what I want to talk about. Like, I'm not a good enough writer to, like, convey the magic of animation without actually being able to show it in front of you. It seems so redundant. I would literally still rather fight my, like, the hardest to get them to go away than use stills. If I have to use stills, it's in very specific situations. I really don't like using them. And I have seen, was it AE City? Yeah, I've seen it. It's like OVA 80s, very retro. Yeah, it was a fun time. I think I've got a rip of it on my computer still. Wait, have I seen AI? Or am I thinking of something else? Is that what I'm thinking it was? Yes, I have watched that one, 1986. I have seen that one, Ryuma King. Gonna be leaving, have a good one. Oh, Dor, have a good one yourself, alright? How do you know how to intonate your voice at certain parts of a video? I've been having problems with my voice sounding monotone when I read a script. Any advice would be appreciated. I have no idea, honestly. I think the more confident you are in what you're reading, you tend to like pick up where you want to go. I mean, you can heighten and lower your pitch as you read certain like elements. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm the right person to ask, because I think you just get better at reading scripts the more you do it. And if you're familiar with what you're saying as well, I think that can really help. I think the worst problem with reading something, but where it will become flat, is when you feel like you're struggling to read it, and that's the worst part. There is like when if you're like, the brown cow looks at the moon and says moo, and then this like that, it is really hard to read a script like that. That's why I usually do like double takes. Like I'll do one run through of a script and then another. And like I'm not very good at reading out loud and doing it, but I've been doing it long enough. I've gotten a lot better at it as years have went by. And depending on how I do things, like when I do live action segments, I don't actually read at all. I just look at the script beforehand and try and memorize the key points and say them. And sometimes that works better because you can get a bit more of a natural reaction, like a more first reaction to it. But yeah, I'm not necessarily the best at doing that. I've struggled with like narrating stuff for quite some time. Still kind of do in some ways. I was more of a like stage person. Like I used to being on the stage or like giving speeches. Like that's what I know, and I never wrote down what I had to say for that. I would just have bullet points, and I just infer what I needed to, bam, 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 and then I'd be fine. Usually for me, I'm fine doing that sort of thing. I actually think I work better with the less I have. Because when I've had scripts that I'm sort of paraphrasing, yeah, I really struggle. Hello, Isa. How are you doing? Oh, come along, really. You had copyright issues too? A lot of my recent content has been taken down. That's why I do my music content on Mixcloud now. I'm trying to figure out something else for YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is really fickle, especially when it comes to music. Probably because the Calera is a movie that you have to buy on YouTube already, so they want you to pay for it. Yeah, it might be that. I'm not really. I don't. I think it has usually to do with like YouTube having scans of something. Like what a company tends to do is they scan in, or like they'll like project, they'll scan in a copy of a film, and they'll be like, they'll have people or like a bot that will like look through them. I think what happens with TMS, and this is what I was talking to someone else about, and they said, even though I'm not like, I don't know, I guess they're not doing it by like, oh, 15 seconds, there we go. What's probably happening is there's probably a dude that has a screen in front of him, and what he sees is what you see in the YouTube thing, which is like, this person has used 10% of your video, this person has used 20% of your video. So like you might see so like, I'm releasing my video, and it's 80% of that video, also maybe 80-70% of that video is like the Cagliostro. So they'll probably see it on the screen and be like, this person's used 70% of the footage from your movie in their video, and they see that and they go, oh, block. They won't watch it. They won't fucking do that. Don't be silly. But they will just be like, okay, here, block. This is the reason. Just random like scroll through it. That clip there. That's the reason we blocked it. And that's enough. I think that's how it goes. So yeah, TMS are difficult like that, but yeah, I would probably want to avoid them in the future if I can. But yeah, I think it's specific to, you might be able to get away with it if you're showing lots of different things at the same time. It can like defer it, but if you're talking about one thing strictly, it like mostly, it can be quite difficult. I'm going to head out for the streams. Great as always. Jade Echo, haven't been nice to see you here. Have a good one, alright? Have a good night. What are my career goals? Fucking hell, like, get off YouTube, maybe. I don't know. What fucking career? YouTube? What kind of career was YouTube? I don't know what my goals are. Jesus Christ. What question is that? Nice haircut. Oh, thanks. I guess, mostly this haircut has been responded to. Yeah, like I said, I just cut it today. Took way too long. Still probably a little bit messy. Up close, probably still needs a bit of adjusting, but it will grow back pretty fast, so, Thank you for answering. It intrigued me that more experimental guys like Yuasa, Kon, Hamasaki were all under the same studio, and Moriyama was like the glue that put them together. Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if it's all Moriyama for every single one of them because Madhouse had like Taro Maki and other producers too, but Moriyama was like the head, and he's kind of the guy that usually took the risks. Like like in the behind the scenes for Redline, Ishii, who's the screenwriter and the creator outside of Koike, he basically said like none of the animation studios were willing to pick it up, but Madhouse. Like Moriyama was just like, I really like Koiki's style. I think this is a really cool idea. They showed him the pilot. They made like a pilot, and then they showed it to him, and he was like, "Yeah, great. You got 2 years. Make this film." They didn't take 2 years. They took 7 in total and 4 in like development. But it's a nice idea on paper, I guess. They originally wanted it to be a 70-minute film too, not 100. So things sort of like blown out proportions. And also Hosoda, yeah. I mean, Hosoda's more like well, he's less experimental, but he was, a golden child. He did a lot of good work with the studio. And if I understand right, Madhouse also assisted him on a couple of his productions, like Wolf Children. I think after Wolf Children, though, I'm not sure they did that much. It's hard for me to recall. Neospike. Gotta go. We'll watch your video you uploaded later. Have a nice time. All right, Neospike, you have a good day, alright? Yeah, it's just Madhouse, like, I mean, there was a quote in my con video, and I think I'd stand by it, where like one of the animators at the studio was just like, Madhouse was just a great place to work at that time, during that like period of the mid 2000s. If it was Con, if it was all these other people who were like working at the studio, it just was apparently just a great environment, and like there was a lot of talented people working at the studio, and that made it like one of the most sought out places to go to. And I think, yeah, the factors were probably that they had a lot of people. Well, the people who began the studio were very talented individuals. Some animators, some like Murayama, who's just good at getting projects done. Like most of the weird projects at Madhouse are definitely his names like attached to them, and most of them didn't do too hot, unfortunately. So most of their weirdest projects, I don't think ever were like massive successes or anything like that. I'm very excited to see when Masao Murayama's doing the Pluto anime because he trusts Neike Urasa since Urasa trusts him, right? Well, from what I understand, it might be a little complicated because I'm pretty sure it's a mixture of like a couple Japanese animators, but mainly like a French studio because the Japanese industry is just like so stretched thin. Like there's just not enough people around to actually do these sort of productions, especially like that kind of production, which is really specific look and tonality. Very hard to find work in that area, in that little place, which is probably why that new Hatsumiku anime they're making I guess it's an anime. Like, yeah, the one they're making for Hatsune Miku is like it's going to be animated in India because there just literally isn't anyone to animate it in Japan from the sounds of it, or very few people who can work on a production that's going to be that big. But yeah, I'd like to see Pluto. Hopefully, if it ever gets made. I mean, it's been a while. I don't know what Moriyama's doing, and I think COVID may have like pushed things back. Last time he did an interview, I know he was saying like there was stuff in the works he just couldn't talk about. So I'm hoping that something's going to happen. I would really love to see him like M2 actually put something out. It's been a while. Oh, thanks, Gabe. Oh, when are we going to throw down on Sonic Robo Blast Kart? Um, Come along, radio. I would actually like to. Unfortunately, the last like 6 months, my wrist has kind of been mostly buggered. So like I have not played that many games for obvious reasons. I'm probably incredibly rusty on Sonic Robo Crash 2. Is it Robo Crash 2 Kart? I would actually like to play it again sometime. I'm probably gonna be fucking awful though. I'd probably play it on pad. I've got like my game controller over there. It's probably the best way to play it. DM me about it sometime and maybe we'll play. I'd like to play again. It'd be a good excuse to play again, but I'm just so fucking bad. Oh, played it on stream, I thought it'd be fun, but I was just like I was in complete like stress mode the whole time because I was like, oh god, I can't talk and game at the same time. I'm not good at this. I'm not prepared. My brain. And my wrist was probably still a bit bugged back then too. Wait, yeah, my wrist was not good back then, was it? It was probably a bit iffy still. Yeah, it was probably pretty bad. So yeah, I did pretty bad, and I probably should have practiced a bit beforehand. My times were not up to par. But yeah, I'd like to play sometime. Be good fun. Wait, what? India makes anime? Well, they'll be making Hatsumiku's anime, so I guess in that instant, yeah. I mean, they have animation studios out there, yeah. I mean, they totally do. I love the Mad Max look. Is it a Mad Max look? I mean, I maybe like in Fury Road, maybe. Was his hair like that in Fury Road? Because in the other ones, he's like got the fucking mullet, doesn't he? He's got that Mad Max mullet. Yeah, I mean, I'd be in Mad Max. Why not? Well, actually, no, I don't want to be in Mad Max. That world is horrible. I'm not the best either. Ah, okay, maybe I have a chance then. Star Motion. You probably heard it in the past weeks, but your earwig video was very insightful. And you voiced the issue with the CGI very thoughtfully instead of the animation sucks. Thanks, Star Motion. I mean, I heard a lot of people like just being angry. There were some who were like, actually, to be fair, when it first came out, the first comments were like a lot more positive than I expected. But you know, the longer it went, they seemed to get a bit more like flinging of shit. But it's ill and good fun. I wasn't too bothered to like check up on every angry comment about CG's ruining the industry or something. I did explain to a couple people like the position of why stuff changes, you know? One of the examples I used, and I think this is, as far as I understand, this is how it went. But like, the reason Disney shut down its 2D department in 2009 is because 2D animation was floundering in the box office. It wasn't competing with the highest profitable film that year, which was Ice Age 4. The second highest profitable film was Up. They also released Princess and the Frog that year, which bombed. And a lot of that was probably on the marketing, because Disney did piss poor marketing for it. Probably because they didn't actually want to make, you know, films about women of color yet. They didn't see that as a profitable market. So, you know, they didn't really give a shit. 2009 was a very different time, of course. And, you know, Disney sucks. So what are you going to do? And then, like, you know, Eisner comes along and is just like, well, yeah, this didn't really make any money. Spent a lot of money on it. Didn't really make anything. And as we can see by these charts, all these American animated films, all the ones making money are CGI now. So I guess cell animation has just fell out of favor with the general public of America. So I guess we're not making any more 2D animated features like this anymore. Which, you know, that's the business, unfortunately. But then on the other side of the equation, if you look at Japan, right? All the films in Japan that makes the most money are 2D anime. Like, in terms of, like, the box office, there's, like, a couple live action films here and there and the thing, but it's just, like, 100% anime. It's just 2D anime, 2D anime, 2D anime, 2D anime, 2D anime, the whole way down. And most of it's, like, Miyazaki, and then, like, your Names, and Weathering with Yous, and the Pokemon movie, and the Yu-Gi-Oh movie, and the Dragon Ball Super movie. Like, it's just all these, like, giant names on the list. And that landscape's very different, and they don't necessarily have the same architecture that, like, a Pixar or Disney has, or Blue Sky, or DreamWorks. They don't have the same infrastructure. So it is definitely possible that CGI as a production will become more predominant in Japan as the years go by. Mainly because there just isn't enough 2D animators. Like I said, the industry is so thin, there's so many productions going, there's so many movies going, and there isn't enough talent in the pool that stays around because they're, you know, the working conditions for animators isn't fucking great. So, like, you probably are going to begin to see a higher percentage of CGI just because of the situation that the industry of 2D animators are in. Like, there's going to be a transition. What is likely to hopefully happen is that even if there is more CGI anime, hopefully then that the ones that are left to be 2D will probably be of a higher quality because there'll be ones that actually want to be made in that way. Hopefully. That's the ideal situation. And of course, there's going to be mixes in between because things like Blender have become more predominant in the industry because they're free. When you have a free software like Blender, right, that all animators can use, if they're going digital, Blender, a lot of add-ons for Blender that are pretty cool. I'd like to get into more Blender stuff. If you can get a nice cheap copy of Clip Studio Paint too. I mean, I'd go for it. That's my recommended thing. But you know, most animators don't make enough money to buy tons of animation software, and most of them still are on paper. But yeah, things will probably change in the industry, but I don't really see Earwig as like the beginning of the end. The third CGI production at Ghibli, which is predominantly a 2D studio, is probably not going to kill anyone. Although I imagine as they go, they'll probably get better at making 3D, because it still feels like there's a lot of growing pains there, which you can actually see at the studio who made Lupin. One of the responses I tended to get with the video was like, well, Lupin looks great. And it's like, have you seen what that studio used to produce before Lupin? Like, their first features, which I think the first one they did is the live-action Captain Harlock film in 2012, technically impressive, but not a very good-looking film. Then they did a Resident Evil film in 2017. Neither of these were, like, rated for, like, amazing animation. Although their cutscenes they've done for, like, Sega are pretty cool. The Sonic Unleashed cutscene they did, really great cutscene. They also did a short for the Werehog. That's a pretty good piece of animation. Although, here's the thing, right? The people in that short, because it's mostly animal creatures, but there's two kids at the beginning. They look really bad. Those kids look really bad. Like, they don't have the modeling down. The faces are a bit uncanny. The ghosts and, like, the cartoon characters, that's pretty alright. But, like, yeah, getting human faces to work in 3D can be... It's a bit of a process where you don't want to fall into that uncanny area. And that can be quite difficult sometimes. So, yeah, like, it takes years. Like, the studio that made Lupin had 15 years of experience in video game cutscenes, which is a different field with a higher budget, smaller amount of duration, and it's just a completely different like situation to be in. I actually have a theory too that Lupin the First probably didn't break even, because I imagine they just invested a lot of money in the infrastructure for it so they could make more CGI films. That would be my like theory right now, that like Lupin the Third really didn't actually Lupin the First didn't make its money back, but they knew it wouldn't because of the infrastructure to get it all down, like having all those assets ready if they want to do like a series of CGI films. I think that's the plan. If someone was to make an anime like in the 80s and 90s where everything character designs, colors, and sound, and especially the way that they look, uh, would that work? Do you mean like, all right, what do you mean by that though? Do you mean like people are going to bring out cel animation again? Like people are going to start painting on celluloid and all that sort of stuff? Do you mean it that way? Like they're going to start shooting on a 35mm camera and like a little machine there, and they're going to paint everything by hand, and then they're going to like, you know, have the Xerox frames and stick them on acetate, and then get the paints out and paint the thing and have a color chart and all that stuff? And do you mean it like that, or do you mean emulating the process of how that looks? Because I think there's a gap in the market here. I don't think people understand, right? I don't. I can't. I'm not on good authority here, but I have, from what I've seen, I don't really think that. Oh, my cat's here. Hello, cat. You coming in? You coming in? All right. I don't really think Japan's actually interested in anime looking like the 90s and 80s right now. I don't think that the majority of anime consumers in Japan actually want that to happen. From what I hear, at least from what I've heard, like the reasons, like specifically a lot of old restorations from like Japan are like really fucking they're really like noise reduction, like they're boosted, like they're like really flat. All the noise has been taken out, which means a lot of the detail goes. In like a lot of these newer restorations for anime from the 80s, and that's because in Japan, like they're really against like the noise. They don't like it. Like a lot of reviews, like we don't like the noise. We don't want the noise. They want it to look as clean as possible, which I think is a difference in like mentality. That a lot of the people who are in Japan are more interested in these styles of clean pop, kind of like really gleamy, glossy stuff. I think that is somewhat like where the market is. So like I don't really know like. I mean, how far do you want to go? Do you want to make it 4x3? Do you want it... All right. As a production, you physically can't make a cel animated show right now. It's going to be twice as expensive as a digital one. Do you have enough paints? Where are you ordering those paints from? Do you have people to paint it? Most of this stuff isn't done in-house anymore. Like back in the day, you'd have in-betweeners and painters and all these people all in the same studio sometimes. Sometimes you outsource some of that, but then you've got to get it all together. You've got to get all the pieces together. Like if the infrastructure isn't there, you can't do that. And like it's also a fucking nightmare. Do not use cells. It's awful. Most animators you ask in Japan will all say like cells would that no, I don't want to do that. I don't. If you are like, there's an interview with Murayama and it's like what's his name? Kaba, the director of like In the Corner of the World. What's his name? Katabuchi, and like the only thing they have to say, like they're asked the question that like it's a very Western question, like what do you think about the transition between traditional to digital? And they're like, digital's just so much easier. Like you don't have to, if you fuck up, you don't have to worry about it. You can like just adjust stuff, and like you don't have to worry about all the painting, the extras. Like it just speeds up the process so much, and it's so much more convenient for our productions. Like that's what they're saying because that's what they see when they see this question. I mean, a lot of those backgrounds they do are still painted, like some of them anyway. Like the major backgrounds are still usually painted in these things, but just the actual process of digital animation to them is like a godsend on time. Uh, in terms of story, Disney has been making more movies that are a mix of childlike wonder and middle life existential crisis, and it's giving me mixed feelings. Yeah, maybe they're trying to target those like, you know, people who are literally middle aged who are still watching Disney films, I guess. With the streaming service and stuff, I guess they're maybe looking at different target audiences. I'm not really sure. I don't really keep up with Disney that much. I have very mixed feelings about the company's practices in the past and the future. Yeah, it's not really my MO. Okay, Sane. Here's a question that I think a lot of people ask, but they just don't understand. Why is it difficult for Japanese studios to blend CGI, 3D model CGI, in 2D backgrounds? It isn't necessarily difficult for certain people. But this is actually a question not of blending it, but it's a question of pipeline, time, and infrastructure, right? Where are these pieces coming from? This is the question, right? All right, if you're a studio that has a really strong pipeline for CGI, animation, and thing all in the same studio, you have a lot of control about these factors. And if you have a good schedule, you have time to make that work. Because a lot of things like blending of these environments have to do with color correction and different layers of like that you add to them and effects that you do, and knowing what this 2D looks like to begin with, so you can blend them in different blend modes and After Effects and compositing. It's a master of compositing test. Now, if you are in a situation where you are outsourcing your CGI to a different company that has never seen your 2D animation because you are on a weekly schedule and your 2D animation is not finished yet and it is not colored yet, and you as the studio who are outsourcing the 2D, you make your 2D elements, but you have a limited amount of time to do that, and perhaps, depending on who's making it, you don't have that much experience in 3D. Maybe you are in-house making it, or maybe you're working as like, maybe you're just some fucking student who's been thrown into the deep end. It's like, oh, you got to make a bear, get it in this show, and it's like, what does the show look like? What am I looking like? What's the color guide on the thing? Do you know those elements? How do I composite in? Is it even their job? Because usually it's someone else's job. Like someone will make the model, and then someone else has to composite it, and you're working with 3 or 4 different companies and 3 or 4 different pipelines. Like a lot of these factors come in with time. Like it's not that they don't know how. It is a situation of how's your schedule? How much time do you have to do this? How fast can you make a model in 3D, huh? Can you make one in 2 hours? Can you do that? And then like, okay, you've made the model. All right, well, how about animating it? How, like, you've got 7 hours to animate this sequence for this show, and then you need to send it off, and then hopefully someone has enough time to make it look good in the shot, and hopefully it will mesh. If it will, I don't know. Maybe it won't. These are factors about production, because there's a lot of, all right, when you look at certain stuff, you probably don't even understand, like, there are some productions that have 3D stuff in it and you wouldn't even notice. You don't even know. Like, you wouldn't even see it. Because some productions have it really down. Like, God, what's their name? Is it Kriya? Kriva? Who's the one that make it Evangelion now? Their studio really has down 3D compositing very well when it comes to backgrounds. Or say, for example, there are literally shows that have CGI backgrounds as like a whole. One of the ones I remember seeing of recent was Carol and Tuesday. Like every background in Carol and Tuesday is CGI. And you know what? On first glance, you might not even really notice it. They composite them really well. The color seems to work. Like I don't really think there's an issue there. It just works for the most part. And then if there'll be shots like on certain shows that have if that would be is it Devil Slayer? No, Demon Slayer, right? Demon Slayer has very good 3D compositing. A lot of it has to do with the elements of who's doing it, how are you doing it, where's it coming from. Like Toei has redone their pipelines recently, and you'll see that on like the One Piece anime or like on their new Dragon Ball productions or their Dragon Quest production. Their new pipeline looks much better than their old pipeline. So now CGI and other factors, they all seem to come in quite smoothly, which was a thing that didn't happen before. And a lot of that has to do with schedule, pipeline, who's doing it, where's it going, etc., etc. Having the people who know what they're doing with that stuff. Cat is why I'm here. Well, she buggered off, I'm afraid. She might come back. Who knows? On the other hand, Megalobox. Well, yeah, but Megalobox doesn't look like what do you want? Like, are you talking about something that looks traditional? Megalobox doesn't look traditional. It doesn't look like an old style animated show. It looks digital as fuck. It uses certain techniques that are like more, how would I put it? It uses more techniques that are like would be back in the industry, right? They like up res their stuff to 720 and all this other like random stuff, and they attempt to have some of the textures of an older show kind of stuff. But it looks very Megalobox looks very digital. It just has a very particular look. And also, Megalobox is made by TMS. TMS is an internet. Well, TMS is a very big company, and they've always been specializing in international products. Like for the most part, they do Lupin, and through the 90s, they did a lot of American productions already. They My assumption with Megalobox, because it's the 50th anniversary of Ashton Ojo, they were definitely aiming for an Adult Swim audience. So they knew what market they were looking at, and it was specifically kind of like an American thing. But I don't think that Megalobox looks traditional. It is still very digital. It just has certain techniques that try and like blend those worlds a bit more. And also when it comes to what you're saying here, Gabe, about hand-painted backgrounds, there are a lot of productions that still have hand-painted backgrounds if they're working with that kind of talent. Like if you're working with people who are like old heads who don't work in digital, then yeah, they might just be painting them themselves and giving them to the studios. That still happens. It depends on the production. But like, I mean, like Space Dandy had hand painted backgrounds in a lot of his episodes. It really does depend. The thing about hand painted backgrounds can take a while depending on who you're doing it with. It's complicated, right? It is always going to be complicated about time and scale. How long do you have to do this? I think there was one interview with like on the Space Dandy production. He was talking about like there's that one episode by Yuasa's like co-director, and she was they were saying like they brought in like a very particular illustrator to do all the backgrounds in it, and he had like 4 months to do it. Like in what situation do most people have 4 months to make their backgrounds on a TV show? That's insane. Like he had a lot of time specifically for that, just that one episode. And like yeah, that has a lot of factors there. There's a lot of factors. I watch my anime only by home burnt laserdisc cropped in 4:3 on a Sony CRT. I mean, I'm sure it probably looks nice, but like if you crop a 16:9 into 4:3, you are losing half the image and you'll be breaking the compositions. But yeah, I mean, probably looks aesthetic. No sales was. Oh, okay, that was already it, right? Just probably hand painted back again. Like some productions are already hand painted. Me too. I used to watch Pixar movies, but nowadays I don't watch anything from Disney. Fair enough. I mean, I think that's just a preference thing. How do I feel about Pixar and their works in recent time? I haven't watched any Pixar films in recent time. That's how I feel about it. I don't really care. Hopefully, the digital art succeeds at recreating the visual fields of like Tron and Odin Star Muni. Um, yeah, I mean, it's not impossible. Like, it really depends on what you're going for. I don't think it's. I think the issue sometimes with digital, right, and this is the issue that a lot of people have fallen into when they have a preference for these things, is that like digital feels again clean because it doesn't have the imperfections and the sort of like effects that like a traditional production has. So like you have to add that stuff back in. So like that's about compositing, and as I'm a guy who used to be a collage artist, right? I used to work digitally, but I worked with a lot of like traditional materials. Like I work with traditional monoprints and colors and waterprint and photos and stuff like that. And it's about merging those worlds together and making it feel like it's part of the same world, even though everything I do is digital. I was working with a lot of mixed media factors to sort of try and bring that sort of feeling back into the digital work. And that involves a lot of scanning and other such processes, effectively. But that's how it usually goes nowadays. Even people like the guys making Papiria, even though I think his pipeline or like the way he's making the production is like nightmare inducing. I just think it's an awful way of doing it, and he's going to stress himself out if he keeps doing it that way. Especially like the way he's using digital as well is like it's such a half measure. Like he needs to stop using a scanner. He needs to get on a photo press. He needs to think about using like more like masking and comps and stuff like that, and layer like mask layers or whatever, just like overlays and stuff like that. There's a lot of factors he could be doing that to save him time. He probably won't do them because I think he has a very set way of what he wants it to be like. But there are definitely ways you can do things where people wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Especially with certain shots. I mean, there are a lot of. I don't think people really know like which of the early DigiPaint shows actually use digital and which ones don't. Half the time, like most people don't know that Princess Mononoke, that all the characters in that film, well, most of them, they ran out of paint basically. Like 50, 60, 70% of that film is digitally painted. The backgrounds aren't, but most of the backgrounds at Studio Ghibli are like usually traditionally done. But yeah, like all the characters digitally painted. Most people wouldn't even. They don't fucking know. They don't even fucking know it. You don't. You can't tell the difference. Can you tell me which scenes in Studio Ghibli's Princess Mononoke are hand painted and which scenes aren't? I mean, you'd be better eyes than me if you can. I don't know if you've spoken about this before, but how different, in your opinion, are Miyazaki and Shinkai's storytelling? I don't watch a lot of Shinkai, so I can't really speak on it too much. But I think that it seems like their goals are incredibly different. I don't think they're anything alike. They obviously have very different goals and what kind of story they want to tell. Like Miyazaki isn't necessarily as interested in those sort of like bittersweet romances that like it seems from what I see that like Shinkai's into. Again, I don't watch that much Shinkai, so I don't really. I feel that's kind of his thing, right? Like a bittersweet romancy sort of pretty background kind of shit. I don't fucking know. I mean, I might have described the problem with Berserk 2016 to 17. A lot of that was time, and yeah, production and the composite things getting. There's like usually like these people who make this stuff know what's wrong with them, but like the issue tends to be like you have an idea on paper, but how do you make that within the time scale you have and the budget you have and the resources you have? How bad are the standards in the industry? Really bad. And why? Why don't you ask someone like the Animation Dormitory Project? You probably want to hear it firsthand. I don't want to give you some misinformation there. There's like a lot of reasons, and it depends. It does depend. Like if you're a salary worker in the anime industry, you could actually get paid pretty well if you're like on the higher tier stuff. But like yeah, most freelance is questionable. Again, like it really varies a lot, and it can be really bad if you're like the top of the top. You're probably getting paid quite well, but such is the case, right? Most people in the anime industry get paid below minimum wage. Ufotable have a good CG and 2D. It's probably because they have internal studio stuff, or like they know the right people to work with. Not Gainax, the one after that. Studio Kara. Studio Kara is the one, and they have pretty good CG composition stuff. By the way, I just want to learn to do Tron-like noise aesthetic for my stuff, but not to reinforce my preferences over the trends of this industry. I mean, you could probably find some tutorials on it, maybe. I mean, Tron has a very particular look. It's a little bit migrainey for me. But I think there's something there. You gotta have a powerful computer if you want to do that much backlight, because like most of Tron is just backlighting. Like it'll be like painting on, like they painted on a cell and then put the backlight going through it, right? So like to do that, you'd still need to paint your like key lights out or whatever, or have the people with the weird stuff on them. But you need to like simulate the light and noise and stuff like that, which takes a lot of power. I've seen some hand-painted backgrounds and Doga sketches from Kill la Kill. Yeah, like it's not uncommon. I wouldn't say I'm very angry about it, Gabe. If you're gonna ask a question, it probably is. It really helps to be clear, right? Just because it's not necessarily you I have the issue with, but sometimes I do hear this stuff from certain people, but I just think they don't understand the artist's perspective or why these things happened. And that's difficult, right? Like, there might be some people who would unironically say, like, why can't they just go back to using cells? And then it's just like, you do not know what you say when you say such a thing. Like, it's like, why can't they just go back to using lead paint? Like, well, those were the good days, right? Why can't they just go back to that? Am I right? Oh, did I knock the camera, or is the camera dying? Oh dear. The audio might go a bit fucky in a second. Keep an eye on the audio. Yeah, guys, keep an eye on that audio because I don't know how long it's going to go. Any thoughts on Mamoru Hosoda? Yeah, I like Hosoda. I think he's a good egg. I did think about well, for the last couple of years I've been thinking about doing a video on him, but I've just never gotten like the right timing. Like I'm probably going to be doing an Arno video while he's releasing his new movie, and I can't do both of them at the same time, so it's unlikely I'm actually going to get my my ideal time to talk about Hosoda in there. But maybe I'll talk about him on some other person's channel or something, if I can. We'll see, right? He is releasing a new video, new like whimsical Hosoda furry experience, right? Like that's kind of his thing. With his good CG. Again, someone who does good CG implementation in their work and has had since the 90s is Hosoda. Now, is Hosoda a 3D animator? No. He usually outsources the 3D to different people, but usually very experienced people. He doesn't do it himself. But yeah, they usually work with someone else, and he has a very specific look that he wants to go with, and they tend to do it. I think the CG used in War Games, in Digimon, in Summer Wars, in his like short film, it's all kind of like super flat stuff, right? Any of that stuff, and his newest film, Mirai of the Future, the CG on that one, mostly pretty good. Some of the background people were a little distracting, if I'm honest, but like yeah, most of the CG was pretty good in that film. Yeah, there's also some mildly distracting CG people in Wolf Children, if I remember right. You know, such is the case, but for the most part, that film looks pretty good. Okay, yeah, the sound. Yeah, one sec. All right, are we back? Are we back? Are we back? Yeah, that it's because I guess that either at some point the wire for the camera got a little bit knocked and it doesn't like it when that happens, so sometimes the audio cuts out a little bit. If the audio should be fine now, so I will just. I don't think I actually touched it this time. I didn't knock it or anything. It might have been the other side. Maybe the cable just got a bit loose on the back side. But yeah, sometimes stuff like that happens. But it should be fine now, right? Anyway, we don't actually have much time left because I want to make some dinner, and then I actually need to do some what would be the term? I need to basically make a list of all the assets I need for the Redline video. So let's say we've got, oh god, look at the time. All right, let's say we probably got like 5 minutes, and then I'm probably going to have to go and make that. We were talking about Hozier. I think Hozier's fine. I hope he can keep doing what he's doing. The worry I have with Hozier sometimes, at some point he was considered like the golden child future, right? Like, when he was doing like when he was maybe going to do House Moving Castle, and like Ghibli made a terrible decision. They should have kept Hozier on and let him do whatever the fuck he wanted. Like, letting Hozier not be part of Ghibli was such an awful decision. I'm fine with Hozier doing his own thing, but for the studio of Ghibli, like, they need more like young talent to keep the studio going, and they just don't have those like industry standard directors with like cheat records with them. They need to like start picking them up now, or they're gonna fall apart very quickly. And Hozier would have been a great addition. Though my worry with Hozier, right, at least now, is like, since people have moved to Shinkai, like he was like the first next Miyazaki guy, which would be like a angle I would probably go for the video. I think it's a good bait title, and it would be actually an interesting philosophical question about like, what does it mean to be like the next Miyazaki? How do these people differ in their style? Where they came from? They basically came from the same studio with the same kind of like position in the same direction. So like, I think there is some like actual visual comparisons you could make, or like stylistic comparisons from where they came from, where they went, what they did. But there is definitely differences in how they approach things, for sure. My worry is that like, I don't think Mirai made that much money in comparison to the prior movie he did. It looks like the numbers went down, and that would be my worry. I'm hoping he did just fine on. I want to see Hozier to do better than his prior productions, and you'd think post Your Name he would be doing better when he's releasing those. And I think that's where, if you see his new film, the Belle, like the Beauty and the Beast one he's doing, looking a lot more like a Shinkai film, methinks. Like the beautiful backgrounds, the sort of character designs, kind of referencing a sort of Shinkai look, if you ask me, just a little bit. I mean, some of the CGI in the background's definitely Hozier, but I'm feeling that modern anime vibe, and I'm wondering if he's like trying to really go into that like hard, to be like, this is a new Shinkai, not film, wink, because he wants that Shinkai money, right? I mean, I think the biggest productions he's had are like $60 million at the box office or whatever, which, in comparison to Shinkai's like hundreds and 200s and 300 millions, is quite a bit different. But if you're running your own studio, I'm hoping he's going past the break even and he's doing well. I don't want to see like Hozier. He was a pretty talented dude. I don't want to see his studio like fall apart because they can't make those numbers up that they need. I want to see them live a healthy, long life in Studio Chizu, is it? I want to see him continue basically doing whatever he's doing. I don't want to see it fall apart. Oh yeah, Redline video will be coming out hopefully at some point. How's it going, Clark? Unfortunately, Clark, you've came in at just the wrong time, because I am going to have to end the stream really soon to have some dinner and then do some editing on this Redline video. But I'm going to be here for like another couple minutes. In fact, maybe I'll buy some time. Alright, I'm going to buy a little time. I'm going to go downstairs and put the oven on. So I'll be back in a second, and then I'll have another 5 or so minutes plus. All right. Yes, chair stream. Yeah. All right, we're back. I just put the oven on. Oh, by the way, Clark. I don't know if you saw, but pinned comment is the second React video on my second channel. I think you sent a video in for that one, if I recall. Yeah, it's up. Hopefully, it's working. I haven't actually checked it since, but I think it's up and it should be running. So if you want to check that out, be my guest. Yeah, chair stream is very, very good, but yeah, I'm not going to be going too much longer. Yeah, so the oven is on, maybe 5 or so. I need to go to the toilet now. Jesus Christ. Too much water, too much water. All right. Before I go to the toilet, I guess there's one question here. Uzumaki on Adult Swim. The reason I'll bring this one up is because Colin Stenson is doing the music, and I would have, I had this idea once, and it depends on the timing of when it's released and what I'm doing. But I would really like to talk about Colin Stenson's music because I really like his soundtracks. I used to listen to them when I was in uni. Like he used to have these like albums, like Volumes of War or something like that. Volume 2, I was a big fan of, and I know he did some work on Hereditary. I actually ended up watching Midsummer recently. That was pretty messed up, but I enjoyed the experience, so I probably will watch Hereditary, and I want to hear his music in it specifically. And I think Colin might have worked on some other project I've went to. Did I see him live once? He might have been. Was that him? Was it someone else? Did I see Colin that day? He doesn't play cello. I think he's I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, I'm interested in hearing the music, and I'd like to talk about the music and how it creates like a fear of like creates an unsettling tone or whatever, like how it creates sort of dread, and how then I would probably compare it to like his prior performances and enjoying his career and talk about it that way. Like that's if I was to make a video on it, hypothetically, if I was making a video on it, that's how I would do it. I would talk about it from that angle. I don't really give a shit about it as an adaptation. I could give less of a fuck. I've read Uzumaki. My old roommate used to have it. It's fine. I enjoyed the experience of reading it. It's pretty cool, I guess. Don't really see how it could make it into. I don't really see how it could be a TV show. But I know they're going to kind of put their own spin on it, maybe. Probably start pretty close and sort of do whatever they can with it in the 4 episodes they have. It's not a lot of time to work with. So, I guess we'll see. Right. Since you were on the topic of traditional style animation, I implore you to check out Properia by... Yeah, I already seen Properia. Alright, yeah, Cameron, I've seen Properia, right? I really like what Properia is doing. Watching that documentary on the Archipel channel just gave me so much fucking stress. Oh my god, because I've done it. I've been there. I've used cells like that before. I know what he's going through, and it's fucking awful. Why did he do that to himself for 3 years? Like, he's starting to use certain production stuff. Like, he scans everything on an A4 scanner that takes fucking all day. Then he cleans it up with a shitty old tablet. Like maybe his one's good. It looks like an Intuo or something. One of those. I don't know. I think he could be more efficient if he bought like a video tablet like I did. I mean, I only recently did this, but like this is the reason I did it. I think it's a faster, more efficient way to do certain things like this. Even if you draw on paper originally, there's speed in having the tablet to cut stuff out and adjust things and all that other stuff that he needs to do. It's about using the right programs, it's using the right infrastructure. It's also about getting yourself a photo crane. See a camera like this, you put it on like a stand, you put your pictures like here, and then you take photos, and you take the next photo, you take the next photo. That's so much faster than scanning. Believe me, scanning pictures takes all day. I've done it before. Like, you will lose days just to scanning in your work before you have to adjust it and put it in its place and move it around and stuff like that, and then like readjust and check the timing and all that. Like, there's just so much stress I can feel by watching a documentary because I know exactly what he's doing, and I've been there, and I feel like there's some things he could be doing just to be more efficient. Even if he wants to do it all traditionally, there are just some things he could be doing to be more efficient. Even if it's just like painting one sheet of paper with the watercolors and the shape of like when he's like, because you see him, he's painting on each piece of paper. He's painting like the watercolor outline of the person walking. Like, just paint one piece of like watercolor paper with the thing, right? like, or just maybe 2 or 3 of them. Scan those in, or I mean, I'd go for scan for this maybe. Like, scan it in at a really high DPI. Create a 24 per frame second like background rotation image color thing, like so that it moves. So you can adjust where it is in the frame. Like create like a cube of texture from all that watercoloring. Make the cube, make 24 different frames of it so it changes with every frame, and then create a mask using your tablet on a animation software for the character. So make the mask, just fill it in, fill it in, fill it in, fill it in, fill it in. That will speed up the process. You can do that on your tablet, and then you bring in the color overlay for far away shots. You don't have to do this with the close ones. If you want to do it traditionally with the close ones, people will be able to see that easier. But for the far away shots, at the very least, like, you'll save so much paper this way. Just make your overlay texture with like your watercolor things or your paints, 24 frames of it, and then throw that on as a mask over the areas that you blocked in through your tablet. People will not be able to tell the difference. They will not be able to tell the difference. It will save you so much time. Save you so much time just doing stuff like that. If you're going to use your tablet anyway, work smarter, not harder, because you're going to do what I did and fuck your wrist up. Are light novels still going as strong nowadays? Probably. Midsummer is not exactly what I'd call a fun watch, but I watched it with some. I watched it with some friends. Yeah, I watched Midsummer with a couple friends over like Discord. There was definitely some issues we were having in terms of like the playback at first, but like it was a very compelling film. We finally got it working. We finally actually got it working and watching it. Yeah, it was good fun. Well, it was horrific, but it was good fun. It was a fun experience with some pals. I think I had much better time because I was watching it with the pals, you know, because we were just like there, like, oh, I don't like where this is going. I don't like where this is going. I was like, oh no, 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 no. But yeah, I started getting pretty chill by the last third because it felt like, oh, okay, I know where this is going. It's fine. It's fine. Your dinner's about to get burnt. I mean, it's only been like 10 minutes, hasn't it? It's not. I put it on like 10 minutes ago, right? Or like a couple minutes ago. It's probably fine. Yeah, I also felt the stress when he said he worked on a 3 minute animation for. It was 3 years, not 2 years. It hurt the hope for my more traditional stuff. I mean, dude, like this is why this stuff doesn't happen. Like the way he's doing it is really inefficient too. Just to state that he is doing it in an incredibly inefficient way. Because at least with like celluloid, which again is incredibly expensive, like there are things he could have done, which would have probably been easier. Like he'd probably had more option when layering stuff. Maybe like doing it on paper means he has to lightbox it and make sure it's connected to his last frame. And if he's doing it on like shitty 90-gram paper, he really has a limit of what he can put on that paper without it like destroying the paper. Not good to put watercolors on there really. I don't know what material. It looked like he was using watercolors, but like you need thicker paper to do that with. And if you ever try to lightbox with thicker watercolor paper, it's not a great process. It's uncomfortable. There's probably more utility that he could be taken out of it, but I suppose he just wants to do it his way, and maybe it's therapeutic to him. I don't know. I mean, I joked about making that video, which was like the Properia problem, where I'm just like, dude, you need a fucking good pipeline. You need a good pipeline, dude. Just get yourself like you need to do this, this, and this. Like you know, doing one of those like funny videos. I don't know if it would be funny, but just like talking about the experience of putting a short together from personal experience, talking about how you can merge traditional and digital technologies, and that like you don't have to choose one of them. He's already using digital anyway, so here are ways that you could make this work, and then trying to make a short animated movie similar to his within like a time frame. Like say for example, I give myself 30 days and see how much I can do in that period, or trying to do something similar to him and see how my processes failed or worked, or what I could learn from that process. I think that could be a fascinating like idea for a video. I just can't do it right now. I've got too much of a schedule. But it would have been a great funny video. Would have probably bombed, to be honest, but it would have been a lot of fun to make. Knowing how hard stressful style animation is to work makes me appreciate like Milk Khan's work and the anime films like Akira and Bloodlust. Yeah, I mean they look very good, Akira and Bloodlust and all that, but yeah, you're not gonna get people willingly do that anymore. It's not like ethical. To be blunt, it isn't ethical to work on that sort of stuff that way. And a lot of the times now, like, it's not even physically possible. Like, the reason Princess Mononoke went digital, you know the reason that was? There wasn't physically enough paint. There just physically wasn't enough paint in the world that was the colors they needed it to be, because they had picked them out from a very specific Canadian producer. And you can't wait for them to produce more paint. That could be like 6 to 8 months. They just have to stop production for 6 to 8 months because they don't have any paint. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, paint sells, all this stuff just costs so much money. It's so much of a fill of time to get that ready, to get it to the places you need it to do. What if you're outsourcing stuff? All right, you need to get them the paint, so you need to pass it to them. You need to send it off in the mail or whatever. Like, yeah, it ain't happening anymore. Like, the only reason it happened back then is because it was the best way to do things, and now things are different. But you can composite, you can change it. You can, in fact, you can make backgrounds traditionally. It's fine, or you can do layers of traditional stuff. I mean, when we were in uni, there was like a position where there were people who knew how to use digital, there were people who didn't. When I worked at the uni, right, sometimes the process we had was trying to like get these kids that don't understand how to use digital, make them learn to do basic shit. Because like you if you fuck up in traditional, you can ruin something when you're on a deadline, right? So like some of the stuff we had was just getting them on a light box. And the light box was so that they could have like say for example if they were like painting a character, like if it was a children's book, right? So you have an alligator, right? And you want to paint him in a specific way. So you put that character, you draw him on pencil, you scan that in, and then like you want to paint him a specific color, or you want to try different colors. So we paint the key blob on the light box. We get the light box, we paste down that picture, we put that down. Now you can paint him, and you don't have to be like, oh fuck, I fucked up the colors, or oh fuck, I don't like these colors. How am I gonna adjust them? Oh, it's gonna be really annoying to do that on like the computer if I have to. I don't want to work on the computer. Like, it's just this stuff, like getting them to like assemble stuff with layers beforehand, or being able to like like having that safety position, and the ability to like go further. One thing about between digital, as a man who mainly used to draw like mainly traditionally, you have a lot more of a bolder position digitally. Like, you will be more willing to make mistakes because you know they don't mean as much. And I think there's benefits to doing it the traditional way too, but it does depend. It does depend what you're going for. I still do some frames on pencil and paper sometimes, but it depends what you want. If you want to be bolder, it helps to work in digital. Or there's a mid between these two, right? Say for example, this is something my roommate used to do, right? He would sketch out his thumbnails and his compositions on his Cintiq. He'd print out them. He'd print out the roughs, so he'd have all his positioning down. He'd have his thumbnail. He'd know like all the framing was all correct, but how he wanted it, right? Print it out, then you put it on the light box, and then you start doing the inking traditionally. Like, that was one way he did things. I think nowadays he's all Cintiq because it's just more efficient. But like, if you want to do that kind of way, that's a way that can really help you out. So yeah, the fact is that these things are not mutually exclusive, is what I'm saying. Like, it's not this or this. You can do both. You can have both things, or like you can work together. You want to work towards the future, not towards a past that doesn't exist anymore. Rishi, watch Vampire D, do it. Pixel art's cool, and yeah, I'm probably gonna go off in a second, guys. So there's a film called Cleaners by 2019 that did the exact same thing by photocopying the frames manually, highlighting them, like George Mealy's used to do. Yeah, I mean, photocopying is actually really underrated. If you have a photocopy, you can do some really cool stuff with that. I've done some like printer animations before, and I've also worked with photocopying, and I think photocopying has a really specific kind of effect and texture that can be really fucking cool. Yeah, I see what they're doing. Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, working in photocopy is like a really cool way of doing stuff if you have a photocopier and you can do it. But yeah, like, infrastructure is key, guys. You need to get a camera on a fucking pod, or like you need to have a camera, two lights, Like ideally a DSLR. You want a camera with like a good close-up focal lens, and you want to get it on like a tripod, or you want to get it on a crane, and you want to have like another, maybe like an easel. Just want to put your it'd probably be easier to have it on a floor. So if you can get like a camera up and you can get it down like that, if you can have your like frames here in like one spot, and you just take the photo, take the photo, take the photo. If you can get that going, that makes life so much easier. Just traditionally. It's just getting the infrastructure for that, like getting the actual ability to do that is quite difficult. I'd like to go back to that way one day. Same with like oil on paint. Oil on glass. I'd like to go back to doing oil on glass, but you need the infrastructure to do it first. You need to have the two lights, you need to have the camera set up, you need to have the program to do it with, and you need to have the oils and the glass all set up correctly. That is the struggle of traditional stuff, is that there is a lot of overhead to get it working. It's not only is it stressful to get it working, it's also like expensive to get to that point, which is why people will tend to go towards digital first. It's just, the zero cost in comparison. But yeah, Cleaners 2019 sounds cool. I'll have to look at that up. Is it even worth having a script for your video, or is it better to have an outline? Depends what you're doing. Depends what you're doing, Monte Cristo. Depends exactly what you're doing. I always tend to have a script, but I will have a structure too. If a video was like more loosey-goosey, like if there was like a lot more like here and there with the video, or like ideas of what was going on, maybe we'd have like a loose outline script, like a loose idea, like it's just rough, really rough, but like the structure is there. I like to have my strong structure. But it will absolutely depend on the project. If I was doing a video with like Papuria, and it was a video where I was like making my own thing alongside it, and it was kind of a bit more like all over the place, that would be structured, unlikely scripted. Maybe there'd be like scripted segments, like an intro or an outro, but maybe the in between would be a lot more loose. I forgot sometimes how much animation costs to do. Yes, it is so expensive, which is why productions try and cut as much cost as possible. You think digital animation is expensive? You have to like double the cost to do traditional, just because like paints are expensive, cells are expensive, film cameras are expensive. I mean, most of it, even nowadays, they probably wouldn't do it on film cameras. They probably wouldn't take the frames on film. Back in the day, I mean, I guess there still technically is. But yeah, back in the day, especially with Disney, they used to have a guy who just like would stand there, right? His day job was to like, here's a piece of paper. Here's the cells. Here's the layers of cells, my dude. Here you go. Put it on the camera. All right, you got to adjust all the frame. Oh, here's another one. Up. There you go. Move it a little bit. All right. Take the camera button. Boop. Oh, okay. Now do that for the rest of the day forever. You just got to take all these cells and put them on each other and make sure they all line up and adjust them, and take the photo. That was his job. Like, God, could you imagine such a life? But even he had a camera, not a scanner. Alright, yeah, it's time to wrap it up, everyone. I gotta go to the toilet. I remember drawing and calling raw animations made in printer paper, then scanning them in and doing green screen them. For the background I scanned too. Similarly hasn't tired me out, thankfully. What is it? So drawing and coloring raw animation made on thin printer paper, then scanning. Yeah, that's a pretty good way of doing it if you can. Though scanning stuff is just such an... If you can get it on a camera, just do it. In fact, this is actually stuff they even used to do with pixel art, speaking of which. I was watching a documentary by, is it Splash Zone? They did one on like cell animation in sprite games, like in Mega Drive games, and they talked about how when Earthworm Jim came alive, they did what I said. They avoided like scanning in the frames, and they went straight to I guess it was like a VHS camera, and they just took the shots. They just took the shots of they had the camera there, had the frames up, boom, 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 because they knew they were going to vectorize, they were going to like go over them and do stuff on the program anyway. It didn't need to be like the perfect high quality scan, because there's only so much limit you can do in that 2D world. So they got like, made sure it was clean and crisp, the camera there, boom, 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 boom. We've got the shots, we've got the shape, and then we can use this program to do the rest and vectorize and colorize or whatever else, sprite-erize it, because you've got to have to paint on top of it anyway. So just speed up the process. Like everything in animation is about efficiency. In the end of the day, it's about getting it done before it costs too much. And I say this in my new video, but like most animation, like if you throw away like the big boys, right? Most animation doesn't break even. But I've seen what like the Irish studio Cartoon Saloon makes on their productions. I don't think they make money. Very rarely, very rarely it seems. Like those aren't good numbers for the box office. It's a real struggle. And like the more production you put into something, the more expensive it becomes, and the more unlikely it is that you'll make your money back, and more likely you're gonna go bust. That's just the reality. I would really like to see more animation in the vein of Jan Schrenkmeyer and Bruce Bickford. I mean, make it yourself, Thomas, and go do it yourself. Because that stuff is yeah, you know, it's a very particular, again, that's a very particular claymation, you know, stop motion claymation, stuff like that. Very specific talent pool, very specific ability to do it, very specific talent of people who can do it. You need, in a way, that's even more difficult as well, because you need to have the set. You need, this is one of the things that holds back stop motion a lot, is one, you need to know how to light a set. Two, you need to have a set. Three, you need to have the figures. Four, you need to have the camera. Five, you need to have the software. Six, you need to have a good camera. Seven, you need to have the right lens. Eight, you need to have a power pack for the batteries. Then you need to have somewhere to put that all. So like that's, it holds back like that's even more work than just like 2D or like oil and paint and stuff. It's like it's so much extra like steps there. You need to have a room in your house you can just transform into an animation studio, and you need to block out all the light from it, because you need to keep the light consistently consistent, which means it needs to be blacked out, like curtained, and then strictly having 2 or 3 lights that you can position and keep that all together. So yeah, it's easier said than done. It's a reason these things are quite rare and usually done by very particular madmen. Oil on glass is really cool, that's true. Alright, I need to wrap this up, everyone, so I'm going to have to skip through this. Oh, we got a couple of super chats here. What TV show would you like to appear on Netflix? TV anime? I don't have Netflix, so it's not really any of my interest. And would I see a Mortal Kombat 2020 anime movie? Thoughts? I guess I'd watch it. I mean, I liked what back in the day. I liked watching the '95 movie. I'm not a huge Mortal Kombat guy. From like maybe some of the older games. Not really my MO, but depending on who did the animation, I'd probably watch. I'd probably give it a go. I'd probably be more interested in that than a live action version for sure. And am I a Zelda fan? Would like to see an anime for it? I do like the world of Zelda. And I've said it before about like Kotabe, you know, Kotabe of ex Toei Nippon fame did do some art design stuff for early Zelda. He did a couple of adverts, and I know a lot of people would probably be quite interested in like a Zelda anime or something, because they think it's going to look like Studio Ghibli. It's probably going to look more like Nippon, or like, to be fair, I think Breath of the Wild looks a bit like KyoAni in a lot of ways, but I suppose there's a couple of factors of that more like Ghibli stuff. I mean, it's comparable. Like the people who worked at Toei went to work at Nintendo, and those are people who also worked on Studio Ghibli or like Topcraft and other stuff. So you can see the connection lines. I would probably like something a bit more down tempo. I don't want it to be too glossy if they do it. I don't know. I think you could do like a really interesting. What would I say? You could have something that's really down tempo, a bit more like Samurai Jack. That's what I'd like to see. Something a bit more atmospheric than like epic. And Street Fighter 2, 1994. What, like the anime? I've seen the anime because it was on my Xbox copy. Not really my MO. Wouldn't really cover it because I don't have anything. I've seen it a couple times. It was on my Xbox copy of Street Fighter 2 and Third Strike. Don't have anything to say about it. That, not really. So yeah, that Mr. Brooks, thank you for the super chats. I really appreciate them. Don't have much to say about some of those things though, unfortunately. But I appreciate them. Now I need to go off, go to the toilet, make some dinner. It's so sad how the industry just takes animators for granted, and consumers don't appreciate their handwork either. Don't give a great works to that time. Yeah, I mean, that's generally the same for all industries, unfortunately. The people who do the most work, the workers, tend to get exploited by the people who want to make money. That is the reality of those industries. They probably do need to unionize. They probably do need to become independent if they can do. Hopefully, the future of technology will make it much easier for those to be independent and fight back against the system. I have made this theory before that, like, perhaps the future for some of these places is literally to just upload their animations onto YouTube to get AI tweening work to the point that, like, they can blend frames in between and they don't need a giant staff, and 8 key animators can come together, start a Patreon, upload their videos to YouTube, start doing sponsorship deals, and like strictly. Well, I don't think that's the best way of working. I think somewhere having the ability for animators to have more power to be independent and do their own thing is technically possible on YouTube. I think that it would be great if the Japanese industry could do something similar to that and like think about things like that, like going beyond the strict methods of like productions and that kind of thing. I would like to see that in some way, even if it isn't that model, something that's different, that gives more creative solace to those animators to do what they want. That's what I want to see. Anyway, I'll finish this up now. Okay, see you, Stephen. Good luck with your future projects. Great stream today, Stephen. I hope you have a good dinner. I'll watch you react to it. Thank you very much, Ether. I liked your video on it, though, and I hope you enjoyed. And it is carpal tunnel rap. Capitalism, baby. Yeah, true. Exploitation and labor, you know. I like the idea with uploading. The idea of uploading anime availability is really worth it. That is definitely true. And enjoy the stream. Have a good one, Stephen. Thank you very much, and we'll call that the end of today. So, hope you have a nice evening. I need to go to the toilet and have some dinner. Ciao.